Thank you.
Donovan, just what are your overall thoughts about the game and the way you guys were able to set the tone for the series?
We played well. We did a lot of things well. They shot it pretty well, too. You gotta always give them credit. Then I think for us, just sticking with what our principles were on both ends of the floor. Pretty solid game one.
And then for just what Max was able to give you guys off the bench, how would you describe basically not only what he was able to give you, but how impressive is it with his limited amount of runway action, game action in the regular
season? If
you
when you see him, the work he's put in all season, it's for this moment, right? Like this is a regular occurrence with Max. Maybe not 24, but just the level, right? The energy level, the boost, and it was so many different things, so many different ways, and you give him credit for his journey. It can be a lot on the mental, right? For him to continue to stick with it, and obviously we needed that as a group, and for him to continue to be one of our leaders and not only show it on talking, but also go out there and show it, physically. And I think that was huge for us today.
Donovan, you've scored 30 or more now in 9 consecutive game ones, which extends an NBA record. What is it for you about this game that allows you to set a tone like that?
Just trying to set a tone of aggression. I said it to Kristen earlier, it just so happens that it is 30, right? But getting downhill, taking the open shots, taking what's given to me, and obviously making the defense have to react. You know what I'm saying? So it's not something I go searching for. It's just something that I'm just playing my game, and you get out there and try to set a tone for sure.
You guys did a good job of limiting them in transition. What do you think led to that success?
We shot 55% too. That always helps when you're making shots, right? But in the same token, when you put such an emphasis on it, and I think for us, just trying to make it easy on ourselves, right? And make it tougher on them. And I think we did a good job of that. But just continuing to get back and understand they're a dynamic team, especially in transition. That was apparent, throughout the entire season with them. So trying to just take away the easy looks for them in those scenarios. And we had a few mishaps we'll clean up, but trying to just make it as tough as possible.
Donovan, you guys got separation here late in the second quarter and the big run. What was the biggest difference in that stretch between the way?
I'm just trying to end the half the right way. Got stops, got the rebound, and then push the pace, right? That was the biggest thing. And they shot it well, too, But understanding we got crucial stops, crucial boards, and that led to our ability to run out and execute in transition.
And that play at the end of the first quarter, getting it to Max as the quarter expires, did you see him play?
Yeah, it was either going to be him or Sam, and that's, you give them a lot of credit for filling the lane. When there's a drill we do every single day that literally mimics that exact thing. So, for two high IQ guys to be off ball and be able to make a decision, and both of them shoot the hell out of the ball. So it's a tough position to be in as a defender, and kind of using that, manipulating that, and then Max made a great cut. So that's what happened.
Chris?
Hey, Donovan, going back to Max, he was out for a long time. As his teammate, did you ever wonder, are we going to get Max this year, and what version of Max are we going to get?
I think the second time that something came out, when it was like he has to, be reevaluated, and I was like, oh, it's looking dicey, but you got to give him credit. He never wavered, right? And I'm not saying I doubted him, but more so I'm like, man, it's going to be tough to come back, and then everybody's at their peak, right, and trying to, get into that. But one thing I learned to do is just never doubt that, man. Like, he's put the time in, put the work in, and like I said, when you see it on a daily basis, when you see his approach, he's a pretty serious guy, but also his level-headedness throughout the process. It was no doubt that he was going to come back and try to make an impact, and you saw it in his first game back. He had like 30 at half, and you're seeing it now, and he's still getting better. I think that's the best thing about it.
You've been with him through all of these playoff runs. What is it about him that allows him to thrive in this kind of environment?
He loves being in the situations of the high pressure situations, the high intensity moments. That's where he thrives, right? And when you're going into a battle, you want a guy like Max Strus with you. You saw what he did in Miami during that run. You've seen what he's done here on a consistent basis, and not just his play, right, but just what he brings from a vocal standpoint in the timeouts, post game, and I think that's the type of leader you want with you.
It's your first
playoff game alongside James Harden's backcourt. You guys have 30 whatever regular season games. Did you notice anything different about James in the preparation, the lock-in that came to fruition?
I mean, I think the best part about it is that it's the same in a sense of his routine never wavers. I think maybe more his demeanor is obviously a little more serious, but, you know, he's going harder. You know, I think the prep the week of, you know, you see him, you know, working, you know, getting extra reps in, getting extra sprints in, stuff like that. But the great ones, they always remain the same. Like what they do on game one is what they do in the playoffs, right? You know what I mean? And I win game one of the season. So I think that's one thing I've noticed, just like he's always consistent, right, with what he does. And then areas that he knows, like, all right, for this series, I'm going to need to get to this. You see him working on those things and having that communication with Ed, with Jay, with myself, with Max, with Sam, with everybody, with Kenny. That's one thing I've noticed. And, you know, he makes it look so easy, man. Like it's one of those things that's great to be around and great to watch. And looking forward to continue to take it game by game.
And does his presence in the backcourt with you, does that kind of allow you to do what you've done and do best?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you see how he started the game, right? Just trying to find ways to get the bigs involved, and then finding ways to attack himself. And like I've said all year, it's one of those situations where you got to kind of pick, right? Like, you know, do you trap James? Do you trap me? Do you switch? Do you are you in the drop? Like, there's so many different things, and we've seen it for the 25 to 30 games that we had in between, and his gravity level is well deserved because he finds different things to impact, with different ways to impact the game outside of just scoring. So it makes my life a lot easier, and so looking to continue to do that.
Going back to setting the tone and how you set the tone in game ones, what makes a game one so important to your team, and how do you mentally approach the shift and focus from whatever you're able to do in game one into game two?
Understand that no game is the same, really, in the playoffs, right? Like, we got to go back and watch the film, but I'm pretty sure they're going to change things up, and it's natural in the playoff series, right? So you try to, you know, be aggressive. You try to have your imprint on the game. And, you know, I think the biggest thing for game two is just understanding that it's going to be even tougher. I mean, it may be grab and hold more. It may be press more. It may be whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you just be ready for anything. And that's not just this series. It's every series I've been in, just being ready for whatever's. And that's not just me. It's a team thing as well, right? So just being ready for whatever comes, and you watch the film and you try to get better.
Joe G and Joe V.
Before the game, Kenny talked about the importance of penetrating the paint, not just the big guys, everybody. Other than your 4 threes, everything was right in the paint. How important was it for you to do your work?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but probably the 3 games before this, that's all I was doing. You know what I mean? Even if we didn't play these guys, I was just the mentality of getting downhill, putting your body and being in shape to do it every single play, right? And knowing that, you know, the 3 ball is going to be there. You know, I feel like I can shoot on anybody, but it's like trying to make it a point, not just to score, right? You know, getting down there, I found Sam in the corner. Obviously, he missed, but like same thing, I found James top of the key, right? So just trying to, you know, just continue to put pressure on teams, and that's where I feel like I thrive, and making the defense have to react to that.
You and Kenny both had interactions with Tony brothers during the game. I want to ask you about yours. Second half, there was a foul. And it almost like you put yourself between Tony as he was heading towards Max. Can you tell me what you were doing and saying there?
I think in that moment, understanding that you have 2. I don't know if Tony played, but he seems like a competitor the way he goes about things, and everybody has their own different views on him and how they feel. I personally like, hey, here's what it is, right? And you know, he's not a bad guy, right? So understanding my teammate, understanding that who he's talking to, so trying to be the voice of reason between the two of them in a heated moment. And I basically said, Tony, like, at the end of the day, you know, the referee holds all the power in this scenario. So, like, you know, I mean, with the back and forth is only going to hurt one person. You know what I'm saying? So I wish it wasn't like that, but like at the end of the day, man, like that's my job as a leader to kind of, 1, have my teammates back, but also 2, diffuse any situation. I'm not the guy to typically go back and forth with the referee, but just kind of, you know, making it known like, hey, like, you know, it's bigger than just that moment. And I think that was what it is. But like I said, everybody has different views on Tony. Tony and I have a great relationship, but that's why I feel like I was able to do that. You know, you form these relationships over your career, right? And I feel like I was able to kind of talk to him and be like, hey, like, whatever was said back and forth, and I'm trying to make this a thing, right? But it's kind of my job.
Yeah, and just to follow up, I mean, you and Kenny actually both put your hands on him,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Did I actually? I didn't peep that.
Did he not not only did he not issue any technicals,
Hmm?
but he seemed to listen to.
Hmm?
So I guess at the risk of sounding like you're buttering him up, like what does that say about Tony that he's?
But I think you have to have that relationship, though, right? Like you have to. I can't. No disrespect to you, but you couldn't just go touch Tony Brothers because you don't have that relationship, right? You know what I'm saying? But I think that's what comes with, especially with referees, like just being able to have a conversation. They're humans. Like, I mean, they hear the same stuff we hear. Like, what I mean? Like the whole arena talking about ref, you suck. Like, so what I mean? So understanding that, like, they're under as much pressure, I wouldn't say as much, but close to it. And I think the human side of things, I think, is bigger than anything. And I've had my fair share of run-ins with Tony, and any ref, I felt like it was a bad call or whatever. I got text, I got ejected. But, to be able to have that dialogue, and same thing with Kenny, like you have to have that relationship. And I think that rapport that you build with every referee is different. Will I do that with every referee? I don't know, probably not. You know what I mean? But I think the biggest thing is being able to have that chemistry between every ref and knowing who's going to ref the game, knowing what they're like. You know what I mean? And I think understand that, hey, they're humans too. You know what I mean? And I know that we try not to have that side of that in the game, but it's the reality of what it is. So that's kind of the biggest thing.
When James first got here, you said that this team was hooping off of vibes at that time. With minimum practice time, and here in the playoffs trying to win your first round series, would you say that a little bit of that is still going on, or is it a little bit more solid now?
I mean, you always want good vibes, but I think it's a little different now. I think we literally had no practice when I said that. We were literally watching film, maybe walking through something, and then that was it. So I think, especially heading into the break, I think we were like 6 games straight or something like that. So we were literally just, what do you see? Cool, let's just do that. Like, you know what I mean? But now we have a system put in, we have stuff put in, and I think now we're in a situation where we've had enough time together and as a group, and I think we're a little more structured than the first 6 games.
That's it.